Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to speak about the subject of how to pursue your hobby as a full-time job. Well, that's very difficult sometimes. Well, depending really on what your hobby is. But let's say if as a kid you start out doing dance or martial arts or one of these things, and then you find that you are actually at a really good level and you're able to teach people, and maybe you're already teaching people at your gymnasium or your dance studio, and people are always asking you for advice, and you really enjoy this. Maybe you can see a potential and actually make what was a hobby into a profession, even if you didn't compete as a kid, because competing is a different thing. I feel yes, you're professional because you're getting paid for that, but you're also just working on specific routines that are just linked to whatever competition you're doing. But yeah, they're just two different levels. I mean, sometimes you can be even better than the teacher at executing stuff for a competition, but you might not be a good teacher, whereas somebody who might be less versed in the competition world actually knows how to break down moves and stuff like that in a certain way that they can actually teach people very well. So it's not because someone is an Olympic gymnast, for example, that they're going to be a good teacher, and vice versa, of course. So that's one kind of example of something that a hobby, where a hobby can be changed into a full-time job. But honestly speaking, everything in life in some way starts out as a hobby, really, except if you're lucky enough, as for example a kid, and they cast you in some sort of movie, and then you're a professional right away. But even at that time, you're kind of, it was never even a hobby, because it's your parents who told you do this, do that, and you kind of started doing it. And maybe you enjoyed it, who knows. And if your parents didn't force you, maybe you were in sort of theater for kids or something like that, and then your parents saw some potential and maybe like sent you to auditions because you wanted to. Anyways, that's some examples, but a lot of things do start out as hobbies. I mean, even people who, for example, would be in computers and making video games, if you really think about it, mostly, I mean, you start out as a kid playing video games, right? And you just enjoy playing them, and maybe you have such a big passion for it that you think to yourself, hey, maybe I should learn how to program. And if you're good at it, then maybe you're actually able to get hired in some sort of company, or you create your own game, and then whatever was your hobby as a kid, which was playing video games, changes, and you're able to make a decent living out of it. And now we could also talk about the fact of what really makes the difference between something that's considered a hobby and something that's considered a profession. Well, something that's considered a profession or a full-time job is something that basically is making money. That's how we value success in our society, is by how much money you're making. So if you're making money somehow out of that profession, out of that hobby, then you're considered a professional, which is basically somebody who's making money. And it doesn't mean that you're good at it. You could just be hired in it, and all of a sudden you're a professional. It's as if you are an extra doing background work in movies, and then you're getting a check, and at the end of the year, let's say that's all you did. Well, now apparently you're considered a professional actor because you have made money, or a substantial amount of money that year doing background work. And that's where people get a little bit confused, because basically that's not really acting. And I guess you're a professional background actor, so you know how to walk and to mime stuff, but nobody really teaches any of that stuff. And yeah, you might know how to hit your marks and stuff, but that doesn't really make you a professional or a decent actor. But yes, you are a professional in the entertainment industry, walking in the background of shows, and that's the difference. And it could also be basically even like somebody who like does event photography or stuff like that, and they're taking pictures at parties. It's not necessarily because you're taking pictures at that party that your pictures are any good or that you are a professional. I mean, you're making money off of it. So yeah, it's kind of weird, and I think a lot of times people can have hobbies, and then little by little, if they really enjoy the subject, they're able to make money out of it. But you can look even at people who are big moguls like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these wealthy people. They might not be necessarily the best programmers or programmers at all. They have some knowledge of it, but what they do is that they're good businessmen, and they're able to take that idea, hire the right people in order for them to get the work done, and then they're able to make money out of that. And when you do that, then you're able to basically make that hobby, which probably, honestly, it has to have started with some interest in the computer field, in the field of computers at that time, and the technology behind it. And they just saw that they were at the right time, right place, where they had an idea and they could take a risk because they were young and make that idea into something that is used by the whole world, really. And I think that's really interesting, because then what defines a hobby and a profession? What if you're professional at your hobby, but you just never were able to make money off of it? Right? That's the thing. Is it a hobby or is it a profession? You see, the problem is that in our society, we really define it by how much money we're making and what you want to put on your taxes, you know. And if you don't make enough money after, 3 years and stuff like that, in that field that you're saying in your taxes, you're not really able to deduct stuff off of it, because the IRS considers it a hobby because you're not making money out of it. But what if you're just unsuccessful at it, money-wise? You might be successful on a creative level, but you might be unsuccessful on a financial level. So does that make it a hobby or a profession? So I think, honestly, how you have to consider it is, okay, whatever, people can call it whatever they want, but I think it's whatever you consider it within yourself. If you consider yourself as a professional dancer, but you're not making money out of it, or enough money, mostly because you have to also wait tables on the side, but yet you're still working once or twice a week at a dance studio teaching your class because that makes you happy, and you're actually trying to audition and stuff like that, but you're just not booking anything, then what happens is that basically it's whatever your attitude is in some way. If you want to consider it a hobby, consider it a hobby. But if you're really trying to go at it and be a professional, then in your head just tell yourself you're a professional. And it might take 10 years of the rest of society considering it a hobby, but in your head considering it a profession, and eventually that hobby can become a professional, not just in your eyes, but in the society's eyes too. So that's what I have to say about the subject. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. Bye.